Well, the Alexander Isak deal went through on deadline day. It was always on the cards, I would say. I think we all appreciate that Newcastle have put in a lot of hours trying to come up with the right solution for this. And it obviously included trying to get Isak to play again for Newcastle. Eddie Howe spent a lot of time talking to the striker, but his decision was that he wanted to leave the club. And I think really for Newcastle, it's the opportunity to turn the page now. I think really when you look at the last few weeks, it's been obvious that Isak was not going to change his mind, and he had his heart set on joining Liverpool because his head had been turned, and the prospect of earning more money is obviously something that has come into the situation as well. So yeah, Newcastle have to turn the page, and I think they already have. Obviously, Vissa come in yesterday, and he'll wear the number 9 at Newcastle next season. I think that's probably a positive thing. It gives everybody something to focus on. I think it's a really good signing. Personally, you look at his statistics in the last few seasons, and he's been pretty consistent in terms of his numbers. 19 goals last season. Only the sort of top 4 scorers in the Premier League had more. And for Newcastle, it's a chance to write new chapters. And along with Nick Voltemade and Newcastle's other pre-season signings, Jacob Ramsey, Anthony Elanga, Malik Thiaw, and Aaron Ramsdale, there's a lot of things to get positive about moving on to the new season. Really, yeah, we are 3 games in. I appreciate that, but this now feels like the start of the season for me, and this is a real positive chance for Newcastle to move on. And I know Eddie Howe will want that. I think the supporters will be ready to move on from Isak as well. It's definitely a case of life after Isak starts now on Tyneside, and this was always going to happen because of the way Isak chose to go about his business. It could have been a lot easier. I mean, it's never easy when a player leaves a club, but it could have been easier if Isak had have just simply played ball and did what Newcastle United were asking him. Instead, it turned ugly, and the consequences we saw last night. A very cold 37-word statement from Newcastle United, and Isak not really paying any lip service to Newcastle fans or the club or Eddie Howe, which is disappointing. I mean, I guess it was always going to be a Liverpool-centric interview because it was on the Liverpool website, and Isak, I believe, is being lined up to speak to Swedish TV in the next few hours, and it'll be interesting to see what he says if that interview goes ahead, but that's certainly the plan. I've spoke to some contacts in Sweden, and basically they say it's still Isak lined up to talk, and now that the move's gone through, I can't see why he wouldn't. This is probably his opportunity to say something back to Newcastle, or the situation moves on completely. But look, Newcastle now have got the international break, then it's preparation for Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. Voltemade, his debut at home, and Vissa will be available as well. So it's almost like a new look team for Newcastle United. Certainly a new chapter, but an opportunity to really move on from Isak now. And Newcastle don't have time to mope around anyway because of the fixtures now. As Eddie Howe said on Friday, the fixtures after the transfer window shuts and after the international break will come thick and fast. And if you look at the fixture list, really, Wolverhampton Wanderers first up. 5 days later, Barcelona come to Newcastle United. Barcelona, St James's Park, under the lights. It's going to be an unbelievable night, and that's to come. That is to be excited about. And if players don't want to be part of that, that's up to them. Newcastle finish off September with 3 huge games away at Bournemouth, Bradford in the League Cup, the defence of the League Cup, getting through the last 16, very important. And then Arsenal at home, where they can lay down a marker on the Gunners once again. So there is no time to mope about for Newcastle. I don't think they will. I don't think they have all summer. Yes, they've got off to a winless start. For me, the Isak situation was overshadowing the club a little bit. A replacement wasn't through the door. They were light on strikers. That has now been resolved. So Newcastle can now enjoy themselves again. That's what Eddie Howe want to do. And the supporters, I'm sure it'll be an unbelievable reception for the 2 new signings against Wolves. This is all very key now going forward to the new season. But yeah, yesterday, the deadline, we were made to sort of sweat on Vissa, the deal sheet going in and all that sort of stuff. But look, he's through the door now. He wanted this move and it was made clear. And all the politics of it, all the politics of Isak wanting to go and Vissa wanting to leave Brentford. Well, everyone's had the say on that. And for me, it doesn't matter what anyone's opinion is on it. Isak is gone and Vissa's signed here. So it doesn't really matter what people think of it. They've now got a job to do for the respective clubs. And I think Vissa is going to be a good signing for Newcastle United. And the way Eddie Howe likes to play, the players that he's now got at his disposal, this could be a very exciting team. It's a new chapter, as I say. It's a new opportunity for everybody. And Newcastle want to build on last season, getting in the Champions League and win the Carabao Cup. And they've got a lot of opportunities for success this season. And I think that's the way everybody will be looking at it at Newcastle. They have been shocked and surprised at the start of the Isak saga that, the player that has never displayed that type of behaviour before started doing it at the start of pre-season. So that was a strange one. But, Newcastle got over it. They adjusted it. And yeah, the first couple of games of the season, really, what can you say? A point at Aston Villa. If Newcastle had a striker on the books that day, I'm pretty sure they'd won that game. Same with Leeds. They created some openings, got into positions. No one there finished the chances. And Liverpool just very unlucky. The red card, Newcastle going into stoppage time at 2-2. That would have been a huge point against Liverpool. Wasn't to be. So Newcastle with 2 points from 9. I tipped them to get at least 6 points from 9. So they're a little bit off what we expected. But 2 points from 9, 1 defeat, certainly something to build on. So winnable games coming up. Now the next 2 games are what you would say, there's no easy games in the Premier League. That is the old cliche, but they are less daunting than the opening fixtures for me, because they've now got a striker or 2 strikers on board and they can really go into these games and get their teeth into it. Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, the next 2 in the Premier League with Barcelona in the middle. So yeah, it is an exciting time, and I'm sure, now the dust is starting to settle, we can move on. And Newcastle fans, they'll back anybody who wears a shirt, and that's always been the case. So I expect that to continue. Realistically, what Newcastle can do this season, there should be no limit to it. There should be no limit to what Newcastle can achieve this season. And they can win something again, and they can get in the Champions League again, and they can make a good account of themselves in the new 36-team Champions League. So don't get too down. A lot of football to be played, a lot of new players, new heroes to be made. Let's move on to the season.